My guest today is Anthony Furey. He did run for mayor of Toronto, didn't quite make it, and now he's run for a councillor. Before I get on to why he is running, please donate, subscribe, keep this show on the air because we are against big, bad government. Welcome to the show. I've read a few excerpts from why you're running, and it seems to me you're not talking about potholes, you're talking about what government is doing and how it should be improved at all levels.
Well, yeah, running for council at Don Valley West in the by-election, I want to fix the potholes, but I also want to go back to basics, ask about priorities. Spending all this money on, say, renaming Yonge and Dundas Square, I mean, that's indicative of their headspace, where they're at.
Let's talk about that for a second for people who aren't in Ontario, because lots of people across Canada watch this. Dundas Street, named after an abolitionist. Some wackos got in there, paid a lot of money from the government to find out that they said, well, he may not have been a total abolitionist. And they've renamed it with all the expense after some country in Africa which was pro-slavery.
So they want to name it Sankofa Square now. And the bottom line is, this is not what we should be focusing on. People of all backgrounds, all walks of life tell me they just don't want to focus on this. And yet City Council, as you know, lots of debates, lots of drama. It tells us where their headspace is at. And it's not one that's focused on back to basics, core services for the benefit of all. And Stephen, you know, this is becoming a nonpartisan issue. This is not about party this or that. People have just had enough with this total lack of proper allocation of resources. And that's what I'm going to fix at City Hall.
So when you say proper allocation of resources, are you suggesting for 1 second that some of the things that are taught in the schools should not be taught? Are you talking about banning certain books?
No, back to basics. Back to basics at City Hall. The core services. We just had a flood in Toronto and people were very surprised at all of the damage that it caused because infrastructure clearly not up to par. So we're focused on things that are not accurate. Congestion, major issue in Toronto. And City Hall just voted for 100 kilometers of new bike lanes. About half of that will be on major roads. I bike. Lots of people love biking. There's an appropriate place for them. It's not on the major roads that are going to worsen congestion. Oh, and by the way, trade. We can't get goods around anymore. This should be an economic engine of the nation, but we're getting sluggish.
Well, I agree with that. We are getting sluggish. It just seems to me, though, that we aren't making enough demands because they said they're going to deal with a highway coming into Toronto, and they're adding a lane or fixing it. That's going to take 3 years. I mean, the Americans went to the moon in 3 years. Why does it take so long for our public services to do the right thing?
I think because the management, the senior politicians, they're not focused on cracking the whip on those issues. You need a new sheriff in town that is focused on delivering these services efficiently, value for dollar. We just had almost 10% tax increase. We can't have 2 more years of that. It would be one thing, Stephen, if we had the high tax increase and we thought, well, you know what? They did actually solve all our problems with this money. Okay, fine. But no, we feel like none of the money is being well spent. So tax increase is too high and you're not getting value for money. That's a problem.
Well, that just sounds like what normal people want.
Bingo.
In government.
Bingo. Common sense, practical pragmatism. That's what I'm all about right now. Don Valley West Council by-election.
You got my vote.
Thank you.
Furey, thanks a lot. 3 minutes. This show provides independent analysis of the issues. We are not paid by the government. And as I am finding, so much business in Canada relies upon various governments that they don't want to sponsor or advertise on a show which may become controversial, which talks about liberty, freedoms, sometimes criticizes government. I've had guests on that support the government. But people are saying, you know what? We don't want to bite the hand that feeds us, i.e. government, which is why I hope you'll subscribe and contribute to keep this show on the air.